Okay, so for this example on page 18, I'm just going to show you how to start these questions, how to kind of set them up. So the first one, question 10, says the photograph shows an Inukshuk overlooking an inlet. It says the height of the Inukshuk is 4.1 meters. What is the height of the person? That's this person standing right there. So the first thing we need to do, and it wants it to the 10th of a meter, so I'm going to leave everything in meters and centimeters. So I've measured the Inukshuk in centimeters. I found that it was 8 centimeters from top to bottom, about. I mean, you're going to be off maybe slightly, but like I said, the back of the book, when you're measuring stuff, is going to be off slightly. So when you set up your ratio, I'm going to set up for every 8 centimeters I measure, it's going to actually be 4.1 meters. So what I did here is I reduced it. I divided each side by 8. So I get 1 centimeter. For every 1 centimeter I measure, it's going to be 0.5125 meters. So all you have to do now is measure this woman in terms of centimeters, not inches, centimeters, and then just multiply that by 0.5125 and you'll get your answer in meters. So just make sure that you're measuring things, setting up ratios. Question 11 says measure the diameter of a Canadian dime and quarter. Here's a dime, here's a quarter. These are not to scale. I'm just showing you how to set this one up. So the diameter of a circle goes through the center, and I would measure from one side to the other, and I would measure this distance to figure out how much it is. I would take a quarter, do the same thing, probably measure in centimeters since they're pretty small, and then figure out how many centimeters this is. I don't know, it's going to be, we'll call it D, and we'll call this one Q centimeters. So we don't know how much they are yet, but we'll figure it out by measuring them. Calculate the ratio of the diameter of dime to the diameter of a quarter. So you're going to have D to Q, whatever those happen to be when you measure them. And that's it. That's the ratio. You might want to divide to get a unit ratio, like whatever this one is, divide both sides by exactly the amount of the diameter of the dime. The second one, part C, says, if this ratio applies for a quarter and a loonie, what would the diameter of the loonie be? So you'd have to figure out, okay, well, first of all, this is my ratio. Then you'd have to say, okay, well, how big would a loonie be? You'd have to use that ratio and then actually measure a loonie to see if the ratio is the same. So then what I would probably do is I would take the loonie, this one's separate, take the big loonie, measure its diameter, right, and then see what the ratio from here to here would be. So I'd look at the ratio of a quarter to the loonie and measure it in centimeters again and see if both of these are equal. Are they equal? Okay. If they're not, then you say it doesn't apply, and if it does, then you can say they do apply. So that's kind of how to set it up. It's all this chapter has to do with measuring with an actual ruler, and I think sometimes students forget that. Number 12, again, it says express the scale of the map as a ratio in lowest terms. I measure this, I get about 0.9 centimeters. Let's round it to 1 centimeter to make everything very easy. You could keep it at 0.9. It'll probably be more accurate with the back of the book if you keep it 0.9. You can leave it as 1 if you want as well. So you're going to have this type of ratio. You're going to have either 0.9 centimeters to 50 kilometers or 1 centimeter to 50 kilometers. And I think in the back of the book they convert the kilometers to centimeters to keep everything in the same scale. So remember, I'd have to first maybe convert to meters and then maybe convert to centimeters after that. You're going to get a huge number, right? Because multiply by 1,000 to get to meters, and then by 100 to get to centimeters. This side stays 1 centimeter because that's what you're measuring, 1 centimeter, or 0.9 centimeters or whatever. Then once you have that unit ratio with a 1 on one side, if you used 0.9, then you would divide both sides by 0.9 to get 1, right? So you'd take 50, divide by 0.9, and you'd get 55.6 or something, or 56. So that ends up being 1 centimeter is 56 kilometers. That's if we didn't use 1 centimeter. And then we convert the 56 kilometers to centimeters by multiplying it out. And then it says estimate the distance from Fort Simpson to Moose Ponds. Then it says measure. So you basically just estimate, which means guess. I measured and I said 8 centimeters. I mean, estimation for this chapter's I don't know. I kind of just go with measuring. So you find it's 8 centimeters, you would use your ratio here. If I have 8 centimeters, how many kilometers would that be? Okay, if I have 8 centimeters, how many kilometers would that be? Well, I multiply both sides by 8. And you could do the same thing for the distances from Virginia Falls, Fort Simpson to Virginia Falls, Fort Simpson to the other places as well. So again, hopefully that helps you with ratios, how to set them up, and how to solve the questions.